Hello, everyone. Welcome to Weekly Manga Recap for the 11th of June, 2025. I was going to say the June 11th, and then I was like, it's not a good way of saying that. So I just awkwardly paused instead. It's manga time, and I've had an interesting week since we last talked. I'll start off, I actually by kind of going backwards, which is the AC was out last night.
Oh no!
Barely got any sleep because I live in Florida and it's June. And I don't do well without air conditioning. So I got like maybe 3 hours of sleep, and was like, well, A, I'm dead tired, and B, I feel like I should be here when the maintenance guy gets here to look at the air conditioning because we have a cat now, which is the bigger bit of news. If you follow me on social media, BlueSky, Nick F Time, or if you were on the Discord server for Weekly Manga Recap, you would have seen me post a couple of times about the new cat that is in my Nicole's life, Ravi. The thing that happened was on Thursday morning, she texted me. She works at a cemetery and told me that some of the workers, the outside workers, had found this tiny kitten in a cat carrier, just abandoned there, abandoned under a tree. So, like, the kitty carrier was like soaked in urine. It was covered in fleas and ants. So they took him into the office, and she was sending me, pictures of him on her phone, like an hour into her shift. And about an hour after that, we both basically decided, okay, we're taking this guy in. He's ours now.
Yeah.
And so we did that. Met up with her. We went to an emergency vet to get him taken care of because obviously he's, looking really frail and covered in bugs and had the swelling in his eye. So they told us that he had a fever from being out in the heat. They treated him for that. He was having respiratory problems. They treated him for that. They gave us an ointment to put in his eye, and then we, took him home. And we've gradually been figuring out like how to do this, like taking care of a kitten thing, because I've had cats before, but I've never been the one to take care of them. The oldest I've been while having a kitten was when I was a teenager, and I was like going to school while my parents were doing all the vet stuff for that. And I was the one who came up with his name, because for basically my entire shift on Thursday, I was like, I need a name for this cat.
Yes.
I decided on that. And so the thing that I decided on was he's an orange tabby. We found him in the cemetery, so it made me think of marigolds, which are the orange flowers for Dia de los Muertos. Another word for marigolds is maravilla. Maravilla. So that's where you get Ravi from. So that's his name. And he's home, and he's doing better every day. He's at the stage now where we're finding him a little bit annoying, which is good because it means he's got energy. He's doing a lot healthier. His eye's doing a lot better. He kind of blinks it out of sync with the other eye sometimes, but that's about the most you can tell. We have this like ointment that we have to put in his eye like every 8 hours. And he'll be done with that tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the last day we're going to be using it until we take him in for a follow-up appointment in another week, because he was going to get his shots this Monday, but he's too small to get them. He was less than 3 pounds when we found him.
Good Lord.
Tiny guy. And apparently a little bit undersized, probably because he has a tapeworm. which can, happens sometimes with pets with fleas. That's why you got to, really, really worry about them, is that fleas can, carry tapeworm sacs and eggs or whatever the hell they're called. And so he has a tapeworm, which we've given him a medicine for. Apparently, it's the only thing he needs. We're going to check on that in the follow-up as well. Hopefully, he's just fine now. I haven't seen a single flea on him today.
That's
which
good.
is the first time that I haven't seen any fleas on him because they gave him like a treatment for that too. So we got a lot more to kind of figure out now because we've never had a pet that we've had to really like plan our lives around in terms of like if we want to go on vacation or whatever. And also we have to deal with the fact that Nicole is allergic to cats. So we're gonna like keep our bedroom shut up all the time so that he can't get in there, so that she can at least go somewhere for a flea to sleep.
I say get an air purifier if you can. That definitely helps out a lot with keeping the air and like the pet dander out of the air.
I'll recommend it, especially because he's going to be getting bigger.
Yeah. Does he have like any personality traits coming through yet?
Mostly, he's just very needy right now.
Yeah.
He really loves attention. And it makes sense because he was abandoned when he was really young. So I'm sure that he's just constantly wants to be around people. He is like the first couple of days we had him, I slept on the couch.
Aww.
Because I didn't want him to be without somebody. He really likes curling up on you when sleeping. So that's what I did for the first couple of days we had him. Since I started, actually sleeping in the bedroom again, he's been fine. He's getting more comfortable with the place. We got him a couple of things that Nicole found on Facebook Marketplace for really cheap. One of which was a little like cat bed tent thing, and he likes that. He tends to go to sleep in that when he's on his own. So,
all right.
And hopefully, he'll get more comfortable and won't feel like we're leaving him every time that we're.
Oh, yeah. That'll come with time. He's a kitten, so a lot of things are going to be like adjusting as he gets older. Well, that's very sweet. I'm incredibly happy for this new part of your family, Ravi, sweet baby Ravi, as I will probably heretofore call him. I would like to assume
it'll be fun in a year or so when he's no longer a sweet baby and you're still calling him that.
So my old boss had a son. Still has. He has a son who I always referred to as Sweet Baby Noah. I met him when he was 23. So like I just frequently will call people Sweet Baby something, and that name just sticks forever. They will permanently be that, as far as I'm concerned.
Ravi threw up.
Aww. Well,
I'll be back.
In the interim, I will tell a quick story. So I've also had a busy week. I just got back from a flight. I was visiting my boyfriend in Iowa. So I have been now to Iowa. That's an important state. There's a lot of differences. I appreciate it. It's very flat coming from Pennsylvania. I'm not used to like long stretches of plain. I'm like, why is our elevation not changed? We've been driving for 5 minutes. Caitlin Clark is, I believe, a bigger celebrity there than Jesus. She has like shrines devoted to her at most of the major stores we went to. Basically anything that was like not just like a nationwide chain. It was like, here's this. There's fudge shops in their sporting goods stores. That was interesting. But I suppose the most iconic thing I can say is I've now had what my boyfriend affectionately called, and I'm intentionally misconstruing his words here for comedic effect, the best pizza Iowa has to offer, which does come from a gas station called Casey's. Now, look, I don't know if anyone listening to this besides my boyfriend is from Iowa. Maybe anyone who is can like weigh in and tell me if my boyfriend is crazy or not. But he was very passionate that he was going to get me some of his favorite pizza. And I managed to guess that it was going to be coming from a gas station eventually. Just as a joke, I was like, oh, are we getting pizza from Come and Go, and he's like, "You're actually pretty close." I don't know how to spoil this for you guys. Gas station pizza is the same everywhere. It's not any different in Iowa. It's it all felt very close to the same. So I think one of the things I've really discovered from all this is simply that Iowa doesn't have good pizza. I guess it just doesn't exist there. They don't know how to do it, but they do great cheese curds. So like it's give and take.
I guess that's why my mom moved. Okay.
Does your mom have like a small shrine to Caitlin Clark in her vicinity at all times?
As far as I'm aware.
Okay, well that must just be like
basketball player, isn't she?
Yeah.
Okay. The one WNBA player that everyone knows.
Hey, people know Angel Reese because the two of them had a feud. All right.
Okay.
Look, I'm not here to shit on gas station food. It's fine. It's fine, which is my review of that pizza, which there is a video recording of my boyfriend being like, "It's time for you to try this." And I'm like, "It's just okay. It's fine. It's good. It's good even. It's good." Wink.
Reminds me of when we were visiting you and Nicole and I stopped at the gas station and I got like an apple turnover or something like that, and she got a donut. And I was like, "This is actually quite nice." Oh, it was apple fritter. That's what it was. And I was like, "This is actually quite nice. It's pretty good." And hers, like, the icing comes off in, like, one chunk and falls off the donut. It's like, this is the worst donut I have ever had. So it all equals out to...
Yeah. I love that I'm getting messages in our Discord now. I guess Casey's is not just exclusively to Iowa, and I was told to try their breakfast pizza. I tried the breakfast pizza. Look, I get it. I don't think scrambled eggs belong on pizza. I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. But it's fine.
Last time I had breakfast pizza, I got sick. So
I will say that was the main thing. Better than any like low chain pizza, like your Pizza Hut, Papa John's. Those all make me sick nowadays. But this one did not. I was perfectly fine and had leftovers even the next day. So,
okay. All right. We are technically speaking a manga podcast, so I guess we should get over to that. Ravi's fine, by the way. It's okay. We're gonna start things off with Ichi the Witch as we normally do. We're gonna have a lot to talk about how the lineup's gonna be changing a lot in the next couple of weeks, but we'll get to that at a different point. Ichi the Witch ain't going anywhere, though. 37th hunt, Because I Had You. Hey, so the Joyous Sorrow Magic's really upset because Gokuraku has taken 8 years worth of all the gathered sorrow that he has gotten from the Kagami village, and he's regained his sanity currently. So the Joyous Sorrow Magic is like, how the hell did he do this? What? And now he's being attacked by Gokuraku too. And there's only one orb left for him to overcome out of the 5 that were being pumped into him. And not only that, but Gokuraku is like totally fine. He grabs Ichi's knife and gives it back to Ichi. And he says, "This is it. We're going to stick things out to the end, right, Ichan?" And Ichi's like, "Yeah!" And we get another flashback to give us some context on all the struggles that Gokuraku has been through, all the, weird looks and judgments that he has gotten from the village, the fact that he coops himself up, never praying to Lord Bakugami. What a troubled young boy. And, of course, messing himself up with magic items. And then...
No one wanted to hang out with that kid?
Nah, I understand that.
Yeah, you're like, dude splitting his back open and kind of just installing things. I don't really know. He does a lot of self-surgery on himself. I don't trust that.
Yeah, that's one of those kind of things where it's like you want to be nice to that kid, though. just to be safe. We get another shot of Gokuraku when he attacked Bakugami. Just a little shot of the aftermath of Bakugami's little bruised cheekum. And the only person who was really worried about him was Richia. And she said, like, there's a reason you did this, right? Come on, please, please, please tell me. But Gokuraku thought to himself, if I tell her the truth, she's going to blame herself. I'm fine. I'll manage on my own. And this makes sense given the context of all the sorrow that he had absorbed, that this was a deep-seated worry and fear that he had this whole time. Maybe it wasn't accurate, but it's clearly something that he's been holding on to for a while, that Richia would blame herself for everything if Gokuraku told her what was going on. So he endured all this. He again gets like a vision of the Joy of Sorrow like parading around Richia's corpse to be like, fuck you, fuck you. But that spark of light and hope appears before him, and it's Ichi. And Ichi saying, I'll help you on this hunt for Bakugami. I want to do something for you. And then reaching out to him even during their fight against each other, saying, I've got faith in you. I'll have faith in you, and I'll wait, Gokuraku. And Gokuraku thinks to himself, that's why I was so happy when he said that to me. Why I was so happy to have someone fight with me like this. And he thinks back to that stake representing his family, and he sees Richia and himself and their parents gathered around it. And he says, I've got family, and that's why I could get back up. But then the loneliness got so bad, I couldn't even reach out to the stake. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And he imagines Ichi reaching out to him. Aww.
What a very heterosexual chapter this is, right?
So heterosexual. So
I love that we could just there's no implications, there's no insinuations with any of this. This is just two guys just being friends. Don't read any more into it.
I don't know, Quinn. He's talking about how much his family means to him. So if it's not heterosexual, it's very incestuous.
Well,
so
fair enough.
And so, yeah, there is a moment where Gokuraku and Ichi are still forced to fight against each other, but they both manage to stop themselves from actually attacking each other. Like fist and knife stop at an inch away from the other's throat and head, and they're just laughing together. They both like laugh insanely as they're standing there with each other. And the Joy of Sorrow Magic's like, what the hell? They're both freaking crazy. And on top of that, Gokuraku's down to the last orb, and the orb is almost gone. So we get a great shot of the Joy of Sorrow Magic going, oh no, oh no, 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 no,
Oh god, oh god, oh god.
Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. So he starts running, realizing like, at this rate, they're going to beat the trial. But there is one ace up his sleeve that he's got left, which is replenishing the sorrow. If you can just grab a human, you can just take their sorrow, and then recharge the orbs and buy some time, and then find a different way to make Ichi and Gokuraku fail. I just need to find one of this country's morons who has total faith in me. Great reveal.
Yeah.
The streets are empty.
Truly good.
And he looks around like, wait, where is everyone? Because there was supposed to be, a festival celebrating 10 years of Bakugami. But the government has ordered everyone into the prayer chamber together because Bakugami is angry. And so we must all pray together that their anger will be set aside. And this is by order of the king, who is acting on the orders of the Witches Council Association. The analytic witch shows up to say, like, yeah, so Bakugami's in pain. Look at the horrible-looking evil god that they've turned into currently. And Descartes is also there saying, my goodness, it's just so terrifying. The only way to return Lord Bakugami to their regal, beautiful, peaceful self is for everyone to get together and pray. So
I love the
good.
shit-eating fucking grins they have there.
Yeah, so sounding so sincere with their evil grins.
Yeah.
The Joyous Sorrow magic collapses because they feel like, oh shit, all that power that I've gathered is draining away. It's all being sucked up. Am I really going to lose? Is that it? Am I going to be acquired? And he hears a voice calling for Gokuraku as through the empty streets, Richia is calling out for her brother because she's worried about him with all that's happening. And I don't know about the creepy grins the witches were making, but that's a creepy grin that the Joyous Sorrow Magic's got in the last page.
It's a great chapter. It's really, really satisfying to see the Joyous Sorrow Magic scrambling to try to find somebody as he realizes, like, oh fuck, these motherfuckers are just laughing at this point. This isn't going well. I gotta find someone else to restock this fucking sorrow. And then the town's just empty and they're, like screaming and like, no, everything's going away. And it's a very good literary, like, narrative technique to then be like, and when it seems like they are at their most defeated, there is an opportunity. Now, we don't know what will necessarily happen. Rikia might be like, fuck you, dickhead, eat shit. I'm not sad anymore. I got a brother or whatever. I don't know. But I am very much like, oh, this chapter was cool, and I just want to see what happens next. Like, I love seeing the Joyous Sorrow Magic getting just completely owned.
This is an incredibly well-paced chapter on its own. It's also a great near conclusion, it feels like, to the events that we've had leading up to it so far, making this a very satisfying arc so far in terms of what we get to see from Gokuraku, our heroes in total, because not only, of course, has Ichi made a difference in this, but, Descartes and Kamugi are kind of like, quietly doing their thing to set things up to make this possible. And the last piece, it feels like, is Richia being, given an opportunity here to perhaps make some amends for the mistake that she made.
Yeah.
Because, the one last thing that feels like there was to resolve was the relationship between her and Bakugami as the first victim.
Very much so.
Well, also their dad. I wanted him to get punched.
Yeah, very cool stuff. Happy Pride Month, everybody.
Yes. Why?
Because it's a very heterosexual chapter, Nick.
Oh, yes. Okay. Speaking of heterosexual chapters, Blue Box, chapter 198.
From here on in, the podcast is actually very heterosexual.
Is there any exception to that?
No.
Not really.
No. I'm looking through. I don't. Wait, no. Marriagetoxin. Well, I mean, this chapter is heterosexual,
this chapter is pretty heterosexual.
But it's coming off a non-very heterosexual chapter, which, by my math, came out during Pride Month. Happy Pride Month.
It did, yeah. Blue Box, chapter 198. You have to attack. We've had a lot of little fun times between Chinatsu and Taiki as they're getting older and having more, growing closer, romantically speaking. And now it's time to kind of like reset things to like everyone instead, because there were, some characters that we left off on, and that seems to be going back into focus. Taiki gets some birthday wishes from people, including Hina gave him 4 pieces of candy this year instead of 3 from the previous year, which this time she had time to prepare, so this was deliberate, which is a pretty good joke. I do like that. So, Taiki's like, oh, it's still fun. I still thank you for that. And she's immediately like, I'll take a Sembikia brand fruit jelly, which is apparently a really expensive thing instead. Taiki goes to celebrate with Chinatsu next. She's got a little bit of like paper to use as confetti, which she greets him with, which is cute. And she says, we're back to being just 1 year apart. She made him a lunch. It's omurice, and she offers to write or draw something in ketchup with it. So he imagines her doing like the maid cafe thing, and putting "I love you" on it. And instead, he gets embarrassed right away and is like, draw me again this year like you did last year, but like draw like the 17-year-old version of me. And it's better. It's not worse.
I like it. I think she added a lot to
cute.
this. Yeah.
But because she was using so much ketchup, a little bit of it got on her face, and Taiki brushes it off with his thumb.
I mean, that's the bigger issue I would have. Is I was like, there's a lot of ketchup now on this Obu rice. It's a little too much ketchup. Like that, especially the left eye. Like that's just a giant blob of ketchup. Like I'm just eating a spoonful of ketchup at that point.
Want some egg with your ketchup?
Like yes, please.
So Taiki brushes the ketchup off that got on Chinatsu's face. And she gives him a little new kiss, new peck.
Little peck.
Afterwards, he gets another quote unquote meal. The badminton club made him a shuttlecock cake, which is very dorky and very cute.
Mm-hmm.
They cut up a bunch of shuttlecocks and put them in the form of a cake, and the top ones look like candles or cherries, I guess. And then we get a bit from Matsuoka. Not Matsuoka. Sorry. I keep forgetting Ayame's boyfriend's name because Matsuoka was the basketball guy.
Yes.
That's not
I know we've learned his name, but you just get that moment where you're reading a story and you're like, this guy's not going to be that important. Like, we're not going to be following this motherfucker around that much longer.
Takasago. I got
there you
it.
go.
So he pops into the gym while he's with his friend and sees Ayame, messing around with the badminton club. There's another club member who's now handling the shuttle cake. And she's like, it starts to fall apart in his hands. So she goes like, oh, what are you doing and stuff. But she's laughing around, having a good time with the boys. And Takasago gets a look on his face. And so his friend says, if you don't like it, you should just tell her. Like, I know she's like a free spirit. I know you're trying to be like an ideal, accommodating boyfriend, but you guys are dating. She needs to compromise for you too. You need to tell her how you feel. And Takasaga's like, no, it's a mystery how you don't have a girlfriend. And he's just kind of like left with that thought, and he doesn't do anything about it. Which is, again, just kind of hard to read this guy sometimes. He just seems so hesitant in a lot of ways about a lot of things.
I mean, I wonder if, because, not to jump ahead, but this chapter is about kind of pursuing things and attacking, quote unquote. Maybe that's this dude's deal. He doesn't have any kind of gumption to him, really. Like, he managed to ask her out, and in every other thought, he kind of just keeps to himself. He doesn't communicate anything. He doesn't push anything forward. Like, for better or for worse, he could choose to try to stop Ayame from hanging out with these guys, or he could just be like, no, I'm not going to do that because that's not necessary. She's allowed to have platonic male friends. That's not she's the manager for the club. It's actually weirder if I told her she couldn't do these sorts of things.
A problem with that, yeah. You can't talk to men ever.
Yeah.
In any context.
But instead he just doesn't really do anything. So I think that maybe is where this is going. I don't know, but I also agree with you where it's like, I don't really know the beat I'm supposed to get on this guy yet. That's just what I'm guessing based on this chapter and sort of the narrative significance of having these two scenes play out back to back.
I've got a couple of theories that go
that he's a robot. Because I have heard this one and I agree.
That's okay. That can be number 3.
Okay.
We'll put that below these two. One is that it has to do with just Ayame's dating history, where she would just kind of go out with whoever. So maybe he's just being really cautious around her to not just be a guy that she dates for a little bit and dumps.
Sure.
Because it's just not working out. Maybe he's just doing everything he can not to rock the boat at all. Related to that, maybe Ayame would have done that already, if not for the fact that she is rebounding off of her crush on Kyo. maybe she is like not pushing away someone that she normally would have like kind of gotten tired of in her prior dating history because she's got that vulnerability from things not working out with Kyo. But I don't know. It's definitely a thing where like I just get weird vibes off of it, and regardless of how things are going with this guy, even if you do have the good intentions, it does seem to be at least a sign that maybe these two are just not gelling very well, and neither of them is willing to acknowledge that to A, fix it, or B, move on. And that could be a problem.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep. Or
on the
robot. Cyborg of some kind.
Number 3.
Perhaps
Number 3.
Perhaps sent from the future to assimilate, or to perhaps birth cyborg babies of some kind.
You know, Quinn, based on future plot developments, mine can potentially be proven wrong. But unless
we may never
get
know
a DNA test on this guy, Theory 3 will never be disproven.
I was going to say, unless this dude shows up in Chainsaw Man and gets bisected in half, and we're like, well, it's all flesh in there. I guess he wasn't a robot. Yeah. I was like, I don't know. Because, like, even if he gets hit in the face with, like, a basketball and he starts to bleed, it'd be like, robots can fake, like, a nosebleed.
Have blood over an exoskeleton.
Yeah. They can make this shit nonsense, so...
Haruto, for Taiki's birthday, gives him some protein, and he's like, yeah, I want you to get stronger. And Taiki's like, okay, why are you actually giving me this? I didn't realize it was your birthday, and I had it in my locker to begin with.
It's so funny, because then Taiki's like, I'm actually still very happy with this. They're like, I understand you're just giving it to me because this was the only thing in your locker, but I am also very happy with this result.
Haruto is asked to go and help out with club duties, and so, but as he's walking through the gym, he passes by Hina and Nina. Hang on,
Nina, Nick. Eerie Gray can't always be in our chat room to shout it out.
Yes, it's Nina. I remembered it. I remembered it just took me a second, okay? And I have to actually remember now because, God damn it, she made a plot contribution, you guys.
She's actually significant in this chapter. Now, yes, Eerie Gray is here.
If she got MVP votes, then I will actually acknowledge that this time. So he just kind of passes by Hina, who, just kind of like looks up at him and is like, doesn't really pay him much mind. He passes by her. They kind of go, hey, that's just it. Nina keeps watching him as he walks away, and approaches him while he is in the I guess it's a bathroom. It's some sort of like one of those like club rooms where they have the big sinks. And so she approaches him and says, like, you used to like flirt with Hina and approach her and stuff, and you better like stop being half-assed about your feelings for her. Just leave her alone. All right, sicko? And Haruto says, I wasn't trying to like lead her on or anything. And Nina says, you don't understand how romance works. I'm making a fist at him. But Haruto quotes Haru saying, you don't know when to attack and when to defend. Your attacks are rough and sloppy. Your inner impulsive side is showing. Learn to be more cautious. So I'm trying to follow that advice and try to be more calm. I'm being cautious. And Nina's like, oh, this guy's like really straightforward. That's really weird. And she says, that is a good attitude. You're gonna get better opportunities in life if you keep your cool. But when it comes to Hina and badminton, you're not the only person on the court. Sometimes you have to attack. Otherwise, you might never make an impression on the other person. And she fills up her water bottle and leaves. And the next time we see Haruto, he's looking a lot more aggressive on the court than usual.
Yeah, his smashes are getting better.
Mm-hmm. Nina comments to Hina that, maybe that guy's actually kind of worth your time. And he was like, what are you talking about? What? I've moved on from that. But she kind of reflects on this, and we get a shot between like all of our, people in the gym currently. So the two of them, and Taiki, Kyo, and Ayame, and she thinks, you might be right. So returning to setting the stage to everybody instead of just focusing on Taiki and Chinatsu, which I'm glad to see because that was now we're getting into like the open threads as opposed to things are going great between Taiki and Chinatsu, which I do like, but it's not as juicy as everything else.
Yes. Now, one thing I think is very interesting is that Haruto and Taiki are very clearly meant to be some level of a reflection of one another. And as Taiki is entering into his next year, and it seems potentially not as focused on badminton as he should be. I shouldn't say should be. He's not as focused on badminton because he is spending a portion of his time in a relationship. He is not devoting every single second to it. I thought Haruto was going to surpass him because he was going to be putting everything into it. But I wonder if they're going to have him follow a similar path, essentially, as Taiki in this sort of story as we're telling it. Because, I mean, I mentioned it before. It is almost disturbingly like one for one, where it's like, oh yeah, it's an age gap. Age gap, he's a year younger than her, and she is like one of the big stars of the athletics of the school, essentially. Even bigger than Chinatsu at this point.
And he's the upcoming badminton guy on his team.
So I do wonder if they're going to follow that pathway or not, or have him diverge at some point.
And Haruto was in a relationship with an idol, like model person. So it's also the person that they're chasing is in an established relationship with like another huge star at the school. Yes. So definitely.
But good chapter. I'm very excited to see where we go from here.
Well, it's the Chainsaw Man, Quinn.
No. Well, I'm excited where we go next week in Blue Box. I'm less excited about this Chainsaw Man chapter.
Chapter 205. Who? Last time, the Fire Devil told Denji to see, who he had killed in Fake Saw Man, and asked if he recognized him. You see, guy's head, and Denji says, "Who's he?" So the Fire Devil says, "You don't know? I will remind you," and makes a flame in their hand. We get to see that their hands are made of like wood and stuff. It's very cool. But in the flame, there is an image of a couple of brothers, a pair of kind-hearted twins who found me, an injured devil, and took me in, saving me. And while treating my injuries, the twins often told me about Chainsaw Man, that even a devil can become a symbol of hope as long as you have justice in your heart, like Chainsaw Man. They urged me to join them and do the right thing together, and I empathized with their message and took action. I made contracts with those with justice in their hearts, granting them the ability to transform into the shape of their justice. I remember the first time the twins saved someone with my power, like it was yesterday. They both looked incredibly proud. And then, one day you appeared. During your battle with the cockroach devil, it grabbed the younger brother. You let his younger brother die to save a cat. And Denji's like, no memory of this at all.
Did you not even look at him?
Looks down at the guy's head like, I don't know.
About that.
So the Flame Devil says, this man idolized you, you betrayed him, he lived for revenge on you, yet you can't remember his face? Well, it is what it is. You're a devil after all. And Denji says, okay, so you want me to apologize? No! After this, you're going to choose between two options again. Don't make the same mistake. And Denji's like, what? What mistake? What are you talking about? Building flies into another building from somewhere. And then, of course, everything collapses. All this happening right behind Denji, who looks over his shoulder, and then when he turns back, the Flame Devil is gone. And calling out from the rubble is, it's Yoru. I guess maybe she wasn't strong enough to kill the Falling Devil this time. But she says, I haven't lost yet! So Denji asks, like, are you sure? Do you wish to save me? What? Do you wish to save me? Answer. Not asking, but are you going to save me? And Falling Devil shows up. So round 2 with the Falling Devil and Denji.
Yeah. Chainsaw Man's just not hitting the same way it used to. I didn't quite get into this chapter. It would have been funnier if the Fire Devil seemed truly like shocked and appalled that Denji
just really did
like,
not what the fuck, dude?
Like, you don't understand. There was this whole backstory of this dude that's been going on the entire series and you didn't know any of it? Like, what? Who is this guy? That might have been funny, but like now as it is, it almost feels like a weird chastisement of Denji, who exists in a series that glorifies and makes comedic the amount of gratuitous violence and like nonsensical brutality of this universe. So I didn't quite get invested in that portion. I'm kind of just like Denji, where I'm just like, who? Why are we talking about this? What is this? And then I'm just not sure, like, I don't know what this ending bit's gonna be. I guess it's cool Denji's gonna fight the Falling Devil, but like, I mean, I don't know. This is Chainsaw Man. There's no way this is gonna be like a straight one-on-one fight. There's gonna be like poop falling from the ceiling next or something. I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm like feeling the fatigue of the series, where there are cool parts, but then there's like just a lot of fluff in the middle that just doesn't really interest me.
I get you. I do think that this could have potentially been a really, really, really funny chapter. I did think it was fun to have a callback to that like first Chainsaw Man appearance in part 2, with us having a good time laughing over the fact that Denji saved the cat and let the other dude die. That was hilarious. And having it called back to is like some big reason for getting vengeance, and Denji still just has no idea who this guy is. That's funny, but it would be way funnier, like you said, if the Flame Devil were way more worked up about this, as opposed to being like, I don't blame you, you are a devil and stuff. But it's like, it doesn't go hard enough, and then it's only the first half of the chapter. Because, so then it kind of takes a lot of the impact away from it, that you now have to put your focus on this whole thing with the Falling Devil, and it also feels like the joke between Yoru and Denji isn't as strong there as it could be, as well. So I get you. This feels like a comedy chapter that's where the joke's just not quite connecting as well as it should. And that's unfortunately feels like it's happening a little bit more often than not now.
Yeah, it's not bad, but I'm not like, I can't wait for Chainsaw Man. It's definitely one of those series I'm like, I should read Chainsaw Man. And then you just kind of finish it. And you're like, okay, fair enough.
Especially when, we are going from the series that does, ridiculous stuff with devils, allegedly, and then we're going to, the worm is popping out of the plane, shooting frozen sharks into a living typhoon. Yeah, so DanDaDan, Quinn.
DanDaDan, chapter 197, Earthworm! Go! So yes, the Mongolian deathworm has risen out of the plane and is Gatling gun firing frozen sharks into the hurricane to try to expand it. And we opened the chapter with Gigi and Momo looking on out the window like, holy shit, this is really awesome, basically. But saying, hey, they need to, help contribute too, so they're going to go back to their technique. When a shark slams into the plane nearby where the deathworm is, opens up that hole a little bit larger, and starts sucking things out, including Momo. She is taken straight out of the plane. So Gigi goes after her, tries to grab her, but unfortunately misses trying to grab her, and she's going to fall off of the plane until Zuma shows up, pulls out an umbrella, grabs her, and is going to try to get back, but he is blind and does get hit by a shark. So Gigi has to reach out and grab them so that they don't all go flying off. There is a moment where the Kita family ask how many of these sharks do they have to shoot, and because they are like in a line on this worm, it just starts transferring down from one person to the next. Momo responds, don't stop. So the game of telephone now goes in reverse, and it goes from she says don't stop to don't stop to don't hop to donut shop To which the
That sounds delicious!
matriarch's like, that's delicious, but why are you guys talking about this? There's no time for food right now. And it's great because it's just the background shot of it. The human typhoon is sucking up sharks into its nose to fire off like a shotgun buckshot. And we get a giant 2-page spread where it just shoots them straight through the death worm, and the great serpent starts to disconnect and fly away.
My favorite part of this isn't even that happening. It's the reaction shots on the next page of everyone going, ah! Except Zuma, who's blind still and goes, what's going on?
Yeah, what's happening? The human typhoon is just going to continue doing this, and the worm is floating away, so this seems really, really bad. Without the worm, they're not going to be able to use their technique anymore. So Momo says, not on my watch, uses her psychic connection, grabs onto the worm. However, it is now pulling everybody, Zuma, Gigi, and Momo, off into the sky. They're no longer on the plane. This is really, really bad. But Momo says, no way am I letting this happen. And she uses her psychic grip to push through the entirety of the worm and begins to use that to telekinetically make it fly, which the Kita family is ecstatic about. They don't know what's happening. They're like, that's the great serpent. It has special powers. We get an explanation for how she's doing it. Basically, it's like a windsock. She's just kind of putting her thing through it and then letting wind go through to kind of keep it airborne. And she Momo tells the Kita mother to lift the head up, to aim and go higher and higher. Gigi notes, hey, the plane's going that way. Don't we need to be on it? We can't toss sharks like this. And Momo says, no, we're fine. We just need to keep going into the stratosphere. And Gigi's like,
everything's fine.
That seems bad, though. But Momo says,
they should all be dead already. I mean,
look, they should have been dead a lot of times in this series. You gotta suspend disbelief a little bit.
Oh, it's suspended. There's a giant death worm that they're flying with telekinetic powers after using it as a frozen shark machine gun to kill a living tornado. Yes, Quinn, I'm suspending disbelief.
You didn't want to give this your most scientifically accurate manga award at the end of the year?
I feel like if I were the type of person who would award that, then...
Momo notes, hey, we have to beat this typhoon or we're never going to reach Shimane. So in order to beat the typhoon, we're going to have to smash the eye of the typhoon. And they fly to the top and we get a big 2-page spread showing that the eye of the human typhoon is a literal eyeball staring up at them.
Yeah, nice creepy visual, but yeah. Good.
Fucking
good,
awesome.
Stupid chapter.
Such a cool moment. Yeah.
All right. Well, Quinn, we're going to have a little bit of news to talk about at the end of this chapter of Kaiju number 8, chapter 127. All right, the way is clear. The Meireki era Kaiju has been blown apart. The core is exposed. There is a shield gathered around it as Kafka is lining up his big final blow. He says to the spirits that he is bonded with as Kaiju number 8, the time has come. Entrust the entirety of your grudge to my fist. And is powering up, but the Meireki era Kaiju starts regenerating really, really, really rapidly, and its body is coming in and closing around Kafka. He gets warning from HQ, but he says, don't worry, I just have to stake it all on this attack. Isn't that right? And the body of the Kaiju suddenly freezes over. All of its regenerating parts are stuck in place, as of course, arriving on the scene, the last moment, is Reno. And Kafka knew his partner was coming. Reno tells him to seal the deal, and Kafka launches his punch. And as his knuckles impact against the shield surrounding the core, we see in his internal thoughts his adult self talking with his childhood self, whom he tells, this isn't the future I expected, but if I can square this away nice and neat, it'd be pretty damn cool, wouldn't it? And his kid self says, yeah, let's punch right through. And he charges ahead, and as he charges ahead, the little kid version of Kafka turns into like high school age Kafka, then graduated, failed to get into the Defense Force era Kafka, then the cleaner Kafka, and then finally modern Kafka, and of course Kaiju Kafka. The Meiriki era Kaiju summons like Kaiju number nine's body to go after Kafka. Its eyes open up to try and bisect him, but his eyes glow and he launches the punch, which blows everything apart. The last bit that seems intact is those eyes creeping through Kaiju number nine's body as everything starts to collapse, core included. And there's a huge roar as the body of Meiriki Kaiju starts to collapse as everyone looks on. That is the chapter.
Yeah, so let's talk about the news that came out as this chapter came out.
We have third to last chapter of Kaiju number 8.
Yes, we have 2 more chapters of Kaiju number 8 in a move that is truly curious. The series is ending, but didn't announce it. This is the final arc, the final battle. It probably would have made everything a lot more palatable if we knew it was just ending. But that decision was made. As for the chapter itself, cool. I mean, we're ending, so yeah, it's a really cool big battle punch. That's pretty satisfying. I guess in a larger sense, just kind of wish we had known, because I think that would have created a better context and like expectation for this arc. Now that I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Everyone does get like a big special moment where they get to show off how cool and evolved they are and things like that. But it probably would have been more satisfying if I realized there wasn't going to be like many more adventures to follow. But
yeah, it would have gone down easier, certainly.
Yeah, it is what it is.
I don't know exactly like what's like going on with that. The only thing I can conclude is that, Matsumoto just like wants to do other stuff. It's not like this has been a short run for Kaiju number 8. It's been running since 2020. But it is just a little bit odd to see it happen, given that, the anime launched last year. Kaiju number 8's not doing bad in sales. It's was what, the 5th, something like that, best-selling manga of last year, something like that. It did get a boost from the anime, and it already been very popular. So I don't know. Maybe there was just kind of a thought of like, I don't know what to do after this. I don't know how to stretch this out, so I better just kind of like end and still until I kind of like, lose the momentum and lose like what I've got going on here, and then just do something else. I don't know. Some people are saying that like I have seen some people saying like some of the volume sales are doing worse, but like in terms of the overall attention that it's gotten, it's not doing financially bad by any means.
I think potentially a realistic thing too is Matsumoto might not want to draw manga as much. This is a brutal profession. And Kaiju number 8 is, in many ways, a pretty quantifiable, quote-unquote, hit. And we've seen the chapters kind of progress slower. This might have been a thing where they're like, I could keep this going. I don't think I want to. Because who knows, maybe they didn't have ideas for, like, where to go from here or, like, anything they really wanted to do. Or, again, maybe just, like, hey, this shit kind of sucks, so why don't I get out of here with the bag while I can? And maybe that's the way. I don't want to really sit here and armchair quarterback it too much or anything like that. Kaiju number 8 ending in like 130 chapters or so lets it be a pretty short, satisfying little series for somebody who wants to just marathon a pretty decent battle shonen series. But for those of us,
it's not like this is unprecedented in this era.
Sure.
Same thing really happened with Demon Slayer when you think about it. Anime comes out and then the series is like just done right at that point when it could have very easily stretched out longer. Yeah. But Yeah, I don't know, but it does really feel as though like there was a door that was open that we weren't told was being closed. Let's just say. um, but oh well.
It's more shocking that we didn't get some announcement during this fight with the Meiji era kaiju that just said this is a final fight or something like that. That's where I
Yeah,
think it's a
just
little
just
surprising.
even when Kaiju number 9 transforms into it, if there had been some announcement at that point, it would feel like it would have.
Yeah.
But
But
oh well.
anyways, as is, I think this chapter is kind of cool. I think the punch probably should have been a 2-page spread because it's actually really
Hmm.
cool. Like it's like a punch so strong it fires off a laser beam. It's very cool. I wish I had gotten like a really impressive visual to go along with it.
But we're going to jump over to Spy Family now, mission 117. So yours on a mission, Hemlock has decided to attack her, accusing her of being weak because she's being all kissy kissy with her fake family. And is trying to be peaceful about this, saying like, hey, stop it. The giant antelope thing, the giant elk, I believe it was called, sorry, also is attacking her. So she's got to dodge that. She's got to dodge Hemlock's blades. And so, and also her hair is being messed up by Hemlock's attacks. And so that is of concern to her. She doesn't want to have obvious injuries and stuff like that when she comes home. So she ties her hair back and we get Ponytail Yor. As the fight continues and Hemlock says, your head's full of nonsense. You're doing like welcome home kisses and stuff. And she's like, no, I'm not. I'm just trying to have a good cover identity. No, cover identities, true selves, that doesn't belong in the garden. We are the shopkeeper's pruners. We're the blades of our motherland. Our role is merely to be blood-stained tools. We have no need of love or happiness. You should be ashamed to be consorting with the rabble of the city. So Yor draws one of her sewing needle weapons and starts fighting back, but she is holding back still on this guy. Her comrade. She doesn't want to hurt him. She accuses Hemlock of needing to calm down. He says, no, you're the one being erratic. And then he does a cool thing, flips the other end of his like cane sword into the air and hooks it onto the hook of his sword so that he extends the blade. It's almost like a sword at lattle. And he swipes at Yor and manages to graze her neck.
Yeah,
Very scary.
Yor is dead. He fucking killed her in this moment. It's crazy.
Yeah, she's dead, and that's the end of Spy Family. Everyone finds out.
It actually was rather surprising to me that this is a superficial wound with actually no consequence to it, because I was like, I don't think you're able to get cut across the throat very easily. Like, I think even slightly deep and you at least can't talk.
If you get cut at just the flesh, yes, it is possible that you don't have your throat cut. But the length of the cut seems to indicate that's not what happened to her.
I was like, he managed to get just enough to get some blood out of her and no other consequential damage.
So Hemlock starts to whirl his two-part sword around, almost looks like nunchaku, and he says that Yor has lost her thorns, and with them any right to the name Thorn Princess. And he starts to have... This is the part of this that does make this chapter work for me. He starts to, reflect on his thoughts on Yor, thinking like, I thought you were like me, dedicated only to killing. You had empty eyes and an aura that repelled others. But then, after you joined that family, I could no longer look at you. Call it a cover if you like, but it's obvious it's been dulling your edge. Am I disappointed? No. I'm angry. You've abandoned your pruner's pride to play house with peasants. You achieved the pinnacle, then turned and made a mockery of it. The person you've become could never beat me now. And he attacks her, swiping the sword all over the place, accusing her of making merry with first ladies, while I was eschewing all human contact and stoically cultivating my inner and outer strength. while you were playing footsie, I learned the blade.
Yeah, it's like while you were enjoying your family time, I was studying the blade alone. A virgin.
And he says, only those beloved by isolation can become the sharpest blades. And a weird narration box says, this is what the man believed. This is like that South Park bit. Like, this is what Hemlock actually believes.
This is Hemlock's actual thought process and philosophy about the world.
And, he thinks to himself, like, friends and women I abandoned long ago, and as a result, I am now the strongest. Narration, the man was alone. He's just sad.
He's just
How long has it been
individual.
since I love that the narration, like, he talks over in the next one, too. It's not like he had many friends to begin. I may have willingly chosen the path of carnage. Oh, my God. I don't know why this. He goes on to say, like, I didn't go out with my coworkers. I declined drinks from the shopkeeper, eating alone, visiting amusement parks alone.
I'm like, you're like, I don't talk to people, but I still do want to go to an amusement park.
Just by himself in the spinning teacups.
With his arms crossed, like he doesn't enjoy it. It's like, dude, why are you there?
This makes me the strongest.
I don't even enjoy this. Like a strong person wouldn't.
And then he says, and in the end, cutting all my ties to my barber shop, leaving my hair to grow unchecked. But I do trim the bangs myself.
It looks
what a
like
goofy
it.
guy this turned out to be. Yeah, so he keeps on attacking Yor, and while this is happening, we get two little panels of the elk just kind of watching this and saying, all right, walking away.
I was like, I gotta get going.
So, he keeps on getting in some attacks. He manages to graze Yor's side with like a stiletto that he throws. She darts around a tree and he carves out like a perfect arc with his sword and accuses her of going back home to cry in your husband's arms. And Yor's trying to figure out, like, Jesus Christ, this thing's so really difficult to predict. He's got that reach, especially because she doesn't have a weapon that can trap it. So she has to buy some space, and as she darts away, he accuses her again of being weak and says, fine. Instead, I'll prune your brother and your family to cut you free from your shackles. I'll propose my plan to the shopkeeper. You wait here. I'll return with their heads shortly. And of course, you hit the button, and Yor attacks him, stabs seriously, and manages to graze Hemlock's cheek, even though he seemingly gets like entirely out of the way of the blow. And now he's really excited because it's like, finally, I can prove my true superiority to the real Thorn Princess. But Yor's not having it. No, we're not doing any of these quippy insults anymore. She's just stabbing and stabbing and stabbing. Doesn't give him a chance to make any space. She kicks up a rock from the ground, stabs it with her needles, and shatters it to make shrapnel and attack him with that. He manages to cut it away with his blade, and then she just kicks one of the stones directly into his head. He staggers, tosses another blade, which nearly gets Yor, but she catches it in her teeth and spits it back at him.
It's a great shot of her grabbing it in her teeth, too. She looks fucking terrifying in that moment.
Hemlock flips over in order to kick it out of the way, lands on his feet as Yor comes for him, stabs with his sword and says, "You lose! Your little thorns can't reach me!" And she hooks the blade in the circular pommel of her needle, follows it down, it slices along her arm, she snaps the end off the sword, and then kills him! She stops short, but there is a flash where she could have just made this guy's guts spray out the other side of his body, and he collapses as Yor immediately calms down again and says, "Please never target my family again." And Hemlock goes, I lost to the makeout merrymaker. Just such a weird thing to say. And so all the pathetic little moments that he had, there some of these are so
They're
pathetic.
brutal. He's like, it's been a month since I last spoke to anyone.
I'm so lonely. I'll suffer through my birthday alone. I'm stronger now. And he realizes, oh, maybe I just fucking wasted my time. And then Yor looks up, oh, the director's bird is back here. It looks like he found the memory base. Let's go, Hemlock. Oh, but does this mean that there's nothing wrong with merrymaking and making out? Come on, we gotta go. Hemlock drags his body through the woods.
I just need to stop doubting Spy Family. It always makes these characters who at first I'm like, this guy's kind of obnoxious and annoying. It always finds a way to just make them so absurd that I was like, yeah, this dude rules. Like, I'm so sorry. Hemlock just being like this super weird, like, isolationist who's like, it's the only way. I've been intentionally turning down invitations to go to parties, and I've intentionally been like sitting alone on my birthday, all to get stronger. You can never possibly defeat me. It's very funny.
This was such a fun chapter. It's funny as fuck, and then for the like third quarter of it becomes one of the coolest fights of the year so far. The detail and creativity in some of these bits, the ridiculous moments of her snapping apart the rock to create cover for herself, kicking the one of the shards of it afterwards. So many cool little moments in that sequence. What a very entertaining chapter. I love this so much.
Yes. Now we gotta talk about another series that's going to be ending sometime soon.
Yes.
Embers.
Chapter 18, Blinded. Embers, remember the name. Yuka Tagami has gotten back on his feet, so to speak. He's told Haitani. He remembers saying to him, if you don't want to lose, then don't bother playing. But he now realizes, like, I think I'm starting to get it. There are times when even though you're losing, you need to keep on fighting. And he wipes some of his sweat off of his face, kind of swipes it over his eye, and gets back to work while Haitani goes to cover Nerima. And Nerima is really focused on Haitani, and he's like, I can't read him. What's he thinking? What is he planning? What? And while this is happening, Bugai's like, everyone just close off his passing lanes. I've got a hunch here. And as Nerima is so focused on Haitani, suddenly we get a full-page spread of him getting his eyes gouged out like King Lear style. And Irma's like, what the hell just happened? Didn't actually, this was just a mental image, obviously, but he can't track Haitani. He can't read him. And Haitani, again, wipes the ball away from him. And people in the crowd are like, did Nerima just lose a duel? What happened? And he's like, I'm fine. It was just my imagination, obviously. And he switches gears, goes after Yuga instead, runs after him. And everyone's like, shit, after Yuga got his ass kicked the entire first half, his legs are going to start to give out. And Nerima closes it on him and says, this is pointless, Takami. You know it is. You're predictable. You can't beat me. And Takami says, I know. And he clenches his arm around Nerima's arm as he closes in and says, yeah, getting totally run over by you is all part of the plan. And he just kind of nudges with that grip Nerima into his own body and then collapses to draw a foul on Nerima. And, obviously, his teammates are like, you drew that foul. That's bullshit. But, hey, you got a yellow card. It worked. And Nerima says, that was cheap. I didn't think that you would pull something cheap like that. And Takami says, me neither. But if I'm going to keep on fighting, all that petty pride of mine has to go. And so he thinks, my real opponent isn't this guy. He lines up for a free kick as a result of the penalty, and everyone's like, there's no way he can score this. The angle he's got is too difficult. But he takes the shot, and he thinking to himself, am I confident? Hell no. He swings the ball out with his kick, remembers the conversation he had about, like, I'm not saying I'm giving up. My lack of confidence is my problem, no one else's. And he says, I've got no confidence myself. I never do. But Hitani had told him, I'm not going to say that I was beaten by someone as weak as that just doesn't have confidence in some got to try. And so he concludes, if I don't have confidence in myself, I just have to get some. And he screams out in the aftermath of his kick, bend! And the ball, with spin on it, curves through the air and goes into the corner of the net for a goal. And so Kosei is pulled even. 2-2. Yay!
Yep.
The last note that we leave on is Nerima still reacting to the fact that he's blind, essentially. Hitani has completely robbed him of that foresight ability that had been demonstrated before. He has no idea even how this is happening, but he concludes, it was him. He's dangerous, very dangerous. I need to exterminate him. And the image that we end on is Demon Hitani, with Nerima's eyes between his fingers, I think, is what those orbs are.
Yes. Look, this chapter goes so fucking hard. The idea that, like, to establish that this guy with this amazing, like, a vision that gets to see everything, getting defeated by somebody in the way we visualize it is Hitani literally puncturing his eyes out of his face is so fucking cool. And yeah, like, the end shot of him, like, being this demon cradling his arms now is, like, terrifying. It is horrible and awesome. Like, I wish this series had been able to be like this the entire time. I also really like that score guy, because I'm not going to remember his name at this point. I like that his whole thing's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to draw a foul against you. It's going to be kind of cheap, but I'm going to do what I need to win, because I am actually a really good shot, and I think I can surprise everybody. So, wait, everything worked. Everything really, really worked. This chapter's, like, legitimately supremely awesome. It's just a bummer that we probably only get, like, 2 more chapters and then it's gone.
Something like that. News broke recently that we are getting 4 new series in Shonen Jump starting next week. Super Psychic Policeman Shoujo had its last chapter this week, and presumably we will be getting the end of Sidcraft, Embers, and Star of Beethoven. Not 100% fully confirmed on all those, but that seems the very likely sequence of a series that we're going to be getting the conclusions of. We're definitely getting the end of Sidcraft, for one thing. But, hey, that's how things go, I guess.
So cool.
It was really weird because... Go ahead.
I was to say, it was a cool chapter regardless.
Yeah. And we're getting a lot of sports series in this upcoming batch. It's going to be very weird.
Oh, I didn't even check out what the new batch is. I guess I'll just be surprised.
First one's going to be a baseball manga. So we'll see.
Thankfully, no one's done baseball before. So it's kind of cool when you can find a series that, like, kind of hits a sport for the first time.
Yeah, it's never happened. No. Hima-Ten, chapter number 45, fashion show Kana. Last time, of course, Iemori got roped into being Kana's partner for the couples fashion show at the school festival. So we get a little bit of preamble for that. It's a half hour until the show. The Kana's 2 classmates are talking about it, saying, like, okay, you know, it's just a school festival. Everyone's going to understand that you're just doing it for the show, so go ahead and act all lovey-dovey like a couple. And Iemori is very uncomfortable with this. Kana just says, let's give it our best shot. Yay! There is a nice little moment where Iemori, like, has the chance of, like, oh, are you guys, like, Kana's friends? And they say, like, yeah, we're her classmates. And Iemori says, oh, it's nice to meet you. I'm glad that Kana has friends because she's been so busy with her modeling job. And they say, yeah, and we've heard lots about you. She never stops talking about you. And instead of kind of stopping them from talking, she grows over to Iamori and covers his ears.
Well, yeah, Nick, because there's two of them. You can tackle one, but the other one's still going to be able to talk. Iamori just has one set of ears, so if she just jams her fingers in there real deep, she could puncture his eardrums and deafen him. So
just get Monster Haitani to come
yeah,
in.
it is statistically speaking the better move.
Yes. So Iamori again is kind of overwhelmed by how embarrassing this is kind of gonna be. Like, we gotta act all like lovey-dovey in front of people. Are we really doing this? His sister and her friend are like, yeah, don't embarrass Kana out there. What a great little sister. He still has his doubts. While he's having doubts, let's go see Kana changing because we need that. And her friends are there talking to her and saying like, wow, yeah, he must really care about you if he's gonna like do this show with you and stuff. And they're saying like, you know, you're younger than him and he's like supporting your career and everything. What she says, like, it's not like he's gonna like hit on you after all that. That'd be just like, you know, kind of weird if he did that. So her other friend says, yeah, you need to like break down those walls because of that, and then you're gonna be good. But Iamori, kind of points out that Iamori is doing this because his sister Mikoto told him to and insisted on it. And she's kind of like holding herself back, and she says he likes to take care of people. He wouldn't ignore someone if they needed help, even if they were a stranger. But they're still like, get him. So Kana comes out to Iamori. She's got a very cute dress on. Looks like she's going out on like a college date or something like that.
It is a very nice outfit.
It's very cute. She says that she's kind of wanted to dress to impress in front of him this time because this is, you know, the first time that she's gotten to like dress this way around him. She was like in jeans before when they were at the theme park. She had to like button up and dress conservatively. And she's like, I know I always seem like I'm really direct, but I do put a lot of thought into this stuff, which makes sense. She's a model, so she's fashion minded.
Sure.
Iamori is self-conscious though because she looks so good. Because like, you're all done up and I'm just in my school uniform. She's like, I've got that covered too. Take your sweater vest off, untuck your shirt, unbutton the bit, and now that's just your usual look. Boom!
I do love it because you're like, yeah, I think that is what Iamori does actually look like when she's just out and about. So
indistinguishable.
Men's fashion, truly. Just
so much easier.
Yeah.
If it were me in this situation and she'd be like, I brought one of your Skull t-shirts, here you go.
You'd have been like, no need to. I already have one underneath.
It's under my shirt. I wear one at all times.
It's like my Superman outfit. I'm always wearing a Skull shirt.
Kana says that she's put a lot of thought into everything. She says, like, you know, compared to the others, it feels like we haven't really gotten as close, you and me. And Iamori's like, it's because we're in different grades, but also that there's work and everything separating them. So she says, I hope you'll go along with everything, even if, you know, you didn't really want to do this to begin with. And Iamori's like, what do you mean? Oh, fine, I really will put in all my effort then. He kind of gets guilted into going all in, essentially. He also says he'll follow her lead. The fashion show starts. Himari is there, and as is Kanai, and she's like, where is Iamori? Where is he? Couples category. Oh, hey, look, it's Kana and Iamori. None of them knew that this was going to happen because, of course, this was a last-minute arrangement, so nothing had filtered over to them. Kana, when Iamori asks her, like, what am I supposed to do? She thinks to herself, kind of guilty. I'm sorry, Himari. I'm sorry, Hanoka. But compared to you guys, I get less time with Iamori. And so she takes him by the arm and says, let's go. And they go out onto the stage, gets very close, and she says, we need to act lovey-dovey, remember, for the show. So they step forward. Iamori realizes that Kana, because she's so close, is actually really nervous about this. Makes sense. She's really cozying up to her crush. So Kana says, she's going to need to learn that you can't do this. Just do whatever you want to me. I'm in your hands now. And Iamori's like, I was supposed to follow your lead. Do not ever.
It's a sentence that you really should only say if you're sure. And also, just a bad thing to do to the person who is not prepared for this event. Like,
doesn't know what to do.
He was like, I only realized I was going to be in it like 30 minutes ago. What are you talking about? Just like, I'm going to be the one in control now. What do you mean?
So Iamori has to make a snap decision. So he thinks about like, okay, what do I do? All right, something that will get with the audience's attention. She's younger than me, but she's always working really hard. If I were dating her, someone who's always so upbeat, I'd... And before he can second guess it, just reaches out. That's her hair. And Kana immediately...
I would shoot myself on the stage. I would feel like I'm glad I tucked a gun into this top because there's no coming back from this. My crush just petted me on the head in front of all of my classmates.
So everyone reacts with shock. And kind of goes, okay, yeah, that's fine. Yes, thank you. All right, let's go off stage now. And Iamori pulls from the Taiki Inamata playbook, gets scared and runs away.
Screams and runs away. Yep.
Goes into the hall somewhere and goes, head in hands. And Kana follows him, and first thing she says, to her credit, is, you shouldn't have left me behind like that.
Not to her credit. Not to her credit. She deserves a lot of grief for putting him on the spot up on stage.
She did put him on the spot, but she is also correct.
She is correct. He shouldn't have left her behind. I do think she should be the one to take... He wouldn't have been that nervous if she hadn't just been like, and do something.
I was teetering on the edge of this cliff. Why did you push me off? Yeah, so he apologizes, like, I'm so sorry. I just kind of like, my hand just moved on its own. And then Kana says, because he says that, so does that mean you felt something? And Iamori says, I mean, like anyone would. I'd never held a girl's arm like that before. So Kana's much happier when she hears that. She says that means it was a big success. Iamori's like, I ditched you on stage. I don't know if that's true. And he says, you might want to like be more careful not to like make this kind of mistake in a contest in the future. I understand your career's going great, but if you did that at work, it could be trouble for you. People would make assumptions. And of course, we get a little flashback that shows that when Kana signed up for the couples category, it was not a mistake. She deliberately circled the option and said to the coordinator, I'll tell you who my partner is later. And she just says kind of ominously, I wouldn't do that at work, or would I? And that's it. Honoka and Himari are like, God damn it, he patted her head. And so a salvo has been launched against two armies in one blow.
He might as well have just given her anal on the stage. I don't know how you come back from getting pat on the head in front of the entire stage. I think in my shoes be like, I'd rather have just gone to third base on stage. I just don't know how to react to someone petting my head in front of an entire audience.
Oh my god.
All right. Odor of the Flame, Nick. There's magic and not magic.
Altar of the Flame, Chapter 5, Heroic Vigor. We get an explanation of how Heroic Vigor works, which is that, hey, sorcerers take magic from nature around them in order to fight, whereas warriors use Heroic Vigor to strengthen their bodies. And then she kind of gives the same explanation as we got at the beginning of My Hero Academia of Ota needing to strengthen himself before taking in an external power source. Otherwise, his body can't take it. It'll burn him out. You can't just have Philgia going on because of that. She says, like, yes, Philgia is a manifestation of nature, a clump of magic. It would be like pouring lava into a flower vase. To which Philgia says, sorry, nature's so grand and magnificent, which is a really funny little comment to just throw in there. And then we get, there's just like every like early training montage you can think of in popular shonen manga, because then Sixten points to a fallen tree and says, your goal is to cut down that tree in a single slash. Like, all right, we're not going to do the rock for this one. Okay, sure.
You got to mix it up, otherwise it'd be absurd.
So Sixten warns him, like, you're going to need to pull out the heroic vigor already inside your body, which normally takes months. Some people it takes years. Are you up for this? And Oda's like, yes, I am. And of course, training montage goes off. Before they even have breakfast, they scale a freaking mountain together. Sixten gives this very long and contradictory explanation of stuff because he's just bad at explaining things. So Etapirko says, like, all right, let me just instruct because he's bad at teaching. Okay. And she starts off by referring to Otter as kid in this, which Otter seems to object a little bit to. She warns him she's not going to be gentle, but I won't kill you. I'm just going to train you hard enough that it could kill you. And so they spar together with wooden swords because she wants to assess his abilities. And then she says, all right, I'll tell you the trick to creating heroic vigor. It's the balance between strain and relaxation. It's the state of equilibrium between those two things, the rift between fire and ice. And there's a cool visual when she does this because she is balancing the practice sword on her finger. It's perfectly balanced on that one point, and one side of her has white background and one side has black background. Mm-hmm. So she says, like, it's calm and passion. You've got to master them both and hold them together. And she says, like, look, there's a lot of people who have come to be Sixten's pupils because he's so strong, even though he's a really bad teacher. His way of life, his way of existence, embodies the art of pulling out one's heroic vigor, which is why he has that contradictory back and forth attitude to him all the time, going hot and cold on people. So she says, I can't just like tell you these things, though. You've got to learn it with your body. And she explains the rift between fire and ice is like, when you're hit, fear bubbles up. Your legs freeze. When your heart suffers a malaise, so does your body. Don't forget, your mind is just one part of your body. There's a lot of training, eating together, sleeping while bundled up against the cold around the campfire. During one of those nights, she says, heroic vigor is vital energy, so you can't draw on it if you're unhealthy. And so Otter has to keep those two things in mind, tension and relaxation, repeating over and over again in his mind. He tries to do a silly thing with his practice sword one day where he's like clutching onto the sword really tight with one hand and the other he keeps loose, and immediately Tabirko's like, no, whaps him on the head. And we don't get like an exact idea of how long he's doing this, but there is a visual of many, many broken training blades surrounding Otter at one point as a result of all the training that they've been doing together. And Etapirko warns him that the White Nights will be over soon, and when summer ends, the invasions will most likely become even more violent. And she says, I think it would be better if you didn't give up, because based on what I've heard, you already have used heroic vigor, and it wasn't just luck that your body didn't burn up during your first battle. And then she attacks him again. It's like, all right, I've given you a hint. You need to realize it with your body. Kid named Otter. And as Otter is trying to fight back, he thinks, how am I supposed to do this? How do I hold tension and relaxation balanced together? And he thinks about all the things that are riding on him, the invasion, his sister, the responsibility he's inherited with Philgia. No matter how I focus on it, and actually the more I focus on it, the harder it becomes to relax. And then he realizes, no, that's not right, because these aren't things weighing me down. Remember what allowed me to survive when Filgia appeared to me, what kept me warm in the face of cold, harsh reality. And he thinks back to a memory of Sana, his sister, and their father coming home together. His father patting him on the head and then telling them a saga of the Polar Bear King, who, after destroying their enemy's prison, gathered their allies and took them across the glaciers until they reached a crevice that stood in their way. They have to jump the crevice. And as everyone around him despaired, what did the Polar Bear King do? He opened his big mouth and laughed. Tensing up will only make your body stiff. To summon power out from deep inside, you need to loosen up your body. And when he did that, the others laughed too, sharing jolly jokes, because these kids are like 6. And so he draws on that memory and realizes, I was so focused on moving forward, I forgot my hopes, my dreams, the warmth and scent of dirt that comes with spring, those days that brought me happiness and kept my heart warm. Above my cold resolve, something is burning, telling me to steal it back. And as he does this, Filgia feels through their connection something warm coming. And Oter swings his sword, and it goes through Etopirko's sword and makes a crevice in the ground directly next to her as his sword shatters. And Etopirko says, I never imagined you could do it with a training sword, but it looks like you've got the hang of it, Oter. And then she goes back into training mode after that congratulation, because training's not over.
Yes. This is a decent chapter. Like, I actually really like the art in this chapter. I think there's a lot of like very cool uses of anatomy in this, and just in general, this artist knows how to draw like muscular people in a way that is like visually appealing. It's, you know, a thing that definitely works. I do really hope this series finds an audience, and I'm worried it's not, because it's not doing anything exciting yet. So hey, if you like this series and want it to survive, I don't know, make memes of it or something like that. I think that might be its only shot. I'm a little worried about this series' future.
Flood Japanese message boards and tell people to read it. I don't know.
Look, I'm pretty sure they've said that part of the reason Gokurabachi is still running is because like America and the West just memed it to hell. So I don't know, do something like that. Like, everybody talks about how much they want a muscle mommy. Why are there not like more, like, everybody's coming to check this shit out because they're like, ooh, what are the big muscle ladies doing? Now, granted, the muscle lady hasn't been seen since chapter 2, but I presume she'll come back.
Some very muscular legs, I'll have you know.
Yeah.
I honestly look at what we've seen in Oter the Flame thus far in these 5 chapters, and I will not be surprised either way, because it doesn't feel like it's doing anything, like you said, super different. But the stuff that we've using that we have seen before, it's executing well. It looks cool. It's got a good pace to it, and the take on those elements and the flavoring of them does have its own identity, at least. So I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, if it catches on, it's like, yes, it's an example of shonen action done well. If it doesn't catch on, yes, it's an example of a shonen series that doesn't have a super strong independent identity to latch on to. So I don't know. And it'll be at least a few more weeks before we get a really strong idea of how it seems to be being received right now. We'll see.
All right. Well, let's wrap up with Sidcraft. Love is a mystery. I say wrap up. I guess there's another chapter after this, but this basically feels
Yes,
like
sir.
the end. Um, hey, gotta stop Toby. It's only a matter of time before things go bad. And
Yeah, it
Toby's
does say the chapter title is the conclusion of a certain story of love and yearning. So
yeah.
yeah, it does feel very final.
Toby's basically like, well, I've lost, but that's fine. And he activates a button and blows up the church and sets it on fire. So there's fire everywhere now. And Sid's like, well, are you trying to kill us all? And Toby's like, I have the key to Souffle's cuffs, and you'll get it over my dead body. And he pulls out a gun, and he's like, if you want to save Souffle, then kill me and take it, and just start shooting at Sidcraft. And it's very interesting because I've never really seen Susui have to do like action, and better at it than I thought. But there's a brief gun shootout where we just see Toby's philosophy is like, yes, if you kill me in the name of love, then you'll be just the same as my parents. People commit crimes out of love, and I will prove my mom and dad right by taking your life.
I have a gun, apparently.
Yeah, Sid throws away the gun he just always carries on him and just runs straight for Toby, who's like, oh, you're an idiot then. I guess I'll just shoot you in the head, and fires a bullet. But then we see that...
It's a good thing you put on Souffle's bulletproof slippers!
Yes, Souffle kicks a foot, and her heel goes flying off to deflect the bullet in just the right amount of time. Sid compliments her. She gets nervous. But Toby is like, how could you possibly trust someone so much in this situation? And truly, Sid punches the shit out of him. Again, like, Susui normally doesn't have to get into too much violence. There wasn't a whole lot of, like, ass beating going on, and we never learned. Sid is fucking this guy up. They have a big...
Whichever girl kicked the most ass and we never learned would have been my pick for best girl immediately.
Sid and Toby have, like, a little bit of a back and forth of stuff. I don't really care about getting into it. Sid ultimately
My character!
Like, yeah, Sid is ultimately like, I promised Souffle that I would be a great detective, and that's why I still am one. And Toby just starts crying because he's like, you know, you and Souffle, you keep stealing my love, everything I want. You were my best friend, so why won't anyone give me? And Sid's like, well, Toby, you just really want to be loved, don't you? And
yeah, he had the power of mind control, and so,
that would have been explained if we got another chapter. He would have been, yeah, there'd have been a lot of depth to it. Anyways, there's an explanation of Toby's mindset, which is just that Souffle only ever liked Sid, and even his parents, they were taken away by Sid, and they weren't his best friends, and he thought himself as ugly and fat, and that no one liked him, and he wasn't smart, and this is also bad, and...
You look like a goober.
Yeah.
My socks are always mismatched.
Yeah.
I always forget to tape Fun Down Under.
Yeah, I'm always wearing white after Labor Day. I'm always walking under ladders. I
blame my farts on the elderly.
I mean, yeah, I think he probably doesn't deserve love if he's doing that.
That's a bridge too far.
I mean, it's so extreme. Do you like exclusively hang out around the elderly, or is like, are you in school and you find you're like, my grandpa walked by?
I always make sure there's at least one elderly person around.
just to be safe. Sid's like, oh, hey, by the way, I didn't arrest your parents. Your parents turned themselves in because they actually loved you so much they couldn't endure basically the guilt they had over being criminals and how much they loved you. And it's because they loved you. So Toby's like, I guess I'll just die in this fire then. This sucks. And Souffle, who's been released, is like, no, bitch, you're going to prison. You're going to live the rest of your life in regret. but it's a noble thing because we're not going to let you die on our watch. So she grabs him and starts carrying him out.
There is a cool moment that she gets because she's like, "Fuck you, Toby! You mess with my life, I'm gonna get mine. So I'm saving you first."
Yeah, they're going to stick with him through the very end, and Souffle gives a little thing where she's like, "Look, we still love you." She does very quickly come in afterwards saying, "But to be very clear, I love Sid Craft," and that's the way the chapter ends.
Yeah, she says Sai is who, and then she stops and says Sid Craft is who I love.
Yeah.
All right. Next chapter's the end. Right. So I guess that's it. Oh, Nicole is calling it. Calling it Ravi.
Yeah. We'll try to find out. Maybe the next chapter will be truly special and truly entertaining. But as it is, it is what it is. Anyways, let's talk about chapter 47 of Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi, the final battle in Naraku City. Azeroth and his name's in the chapter, the title of the series. Kiyoshi are having their big fight. There's a bunch of back and forth. There's attacks going around, and Azeroth could not be more excited. He is literally sparkling with excitement over how long it's been since he's had to dodge an enemy's attack. And it's very exciting. And there's a moment where he shoots his attack.
Right, Quinn. This is the other heterosexual chapter this week, right?
Okay. Kiyoshi has to block it, and then when the smoke clears, he can't see Azeroth anymore. And Azeroth, this happy Pride Month to Azeroth. This campy bitch is riding on the carousel afterwards, being like, "Do you get how excited this makes me?" I just wanted him to be wearing fucking giant 6-inch heel boots or something like that, as gay.
Yeah. Kick that leg up while you're riding it. Yeah.
Why is he not wearing fishnets? This character it could just be so camp and over the top. Anyways, Kiyoshi, who is boring now, just says nope and no sells it, and they just have more fight stuff. Although they do fight inside a teacup at an amusement park sometime, and I do quietly wish that Hemlock was in the background, arms crossed, no selling, and he's like, "See, if you just didn't talk to anybody, you'd be even stronger."
2 teacup rides in this week of manga. Strange.
It's a good time. Azeroth is like, "Oh yes, well, let's enjoy ourselves until the sun comes up." Kiyoshi says, "Pass." Azeroth, in the most heterosexual way possible, says, "Plain hard to get." And Kiyoshi just spins the teacup really fast and jumps out, and then just punches Azeroth when he's in the he's all dizzy and shit. It's actually a very
satisfying punch. His face compresses. It's great.
Yeah, you can tell this is somebody who worked with Oda. So Azeroth says, yes, you've gotten stronger, Kiyoshi Hirai, but I'm also at full power," and starts charging up energy with this sword. We don't have time to see how that's going to happen, though, because we have to cut over to, what is this guy, Sasaki?
Yes.
Yeah, Sasaki seems like he's doing pretty good. Yuta and... Yeah. Oh, I don't remember the number 2 guy's name. Marriagetoxin or some shit like that. Marriagetoxin. I remember there's a lot of letters, and I think it started with an M. They're both seemingly on the defeated point at this moment, where they're both not looking so good. And Yuta's just like, our fight's only begun. Besides, Lord Roth has descended. You really do think you could protect everything? And, Sasaki's like, "Yeah, I do. Kiyoshi believes it too, just like you did way back when." And we get just a very, very brief flashback to who Yuta was before all this. Yeah.
Younger, more innocent, less hair dye.
Indeed. So Yuta's like, "Oh, yeah? When was that? Doesn't matter. He's going to be killed by Lord Roth too." And Sasaki says, "No." Takes a big inhale. "Told you before. Kiyoshi Hirai is the ultimate exorcist." We see Kiyoshi doing his cross-arm move. He summons a big bow of energy and...
takes a deep breath when things are rough.
Yes, he is reminded to take a deep breath from that first chapter. He is an exorcist who can protect everything, and he will protect them. It fires off big bow attack that destroys Zoroark's moves and like leaves a streak through the sky. We see Sosuke looking up, and he's resting against a tree, and he's like, "Beat him, Arai." And we end the chapter with Yuta saying, "It's just wishful thinking that he's going to beat a Zoroark." And Makurojima says, "All right, it's time for round 2." And definitely seems to be doing some kind of fusion combination thing with Yuta to explain why next chapter it'll be exciting that these two are fighting after they've seemingly been bested off screen. The end of the chapter is Sasaki and Kiyoshi at the same time saying, "Bring it. I'm going to exercise the hell out of you."
I got it was very weird to get to this chapter because I got like, oh, this feels like very 1 year anniversary, doesn't it? And it's like, yes, but that's in 2 weeks. I don't know. It's obviously like a very big chapter. Like this got the 2-page color spread at the beginning. But I think that there was definitely thought put into this chapter, knowing like, okay, I've got like the color lead and cover page and cover of Jump, so I'm going to make the most of this and do a big chapter that got callbacks, features a little bit of the comedy of the series, although like you said, Kiyoshi feels very, very standard in this chapter. He's not doing a lot of talking. He doesn't have a lot of the same qualities that we've grown to be familiar with, and then just a lot of straight up action. That's very cool, featuring two of the standout fighters of the series.
What we get is decent, so I'm looking forward to future chapters. I do just wish that we could get some kind of like recentering of Kiyoshi and like what makes him likable besides that he's very, very strong, because it's like, look, I get it, like I also liked Mashal, but Mashal was also a comedy. And when you don't make things funny, a dude who's just stronger than everybody else is kind of a boring way to do things. So.
Yes. All right. Well, let's do Marriagetoxin now, Quinn. It's chapter 130. As Geto is rushing off to help Shiori, or Ishino, after getting the message saying, "I'm sorry, I probably can't meet up with you for a while." So he goes to that one awning that the two of them ate together at with Kinosaki before, and Shiori is currently just huddled up there, looking very miserable, and she has food in her hair, which gets explained shortly. As Gero comes up, sees her, she spins around, like, why are you here? And he says, "I'm sorry. It seemed like you really needed my help. If you don't mind, can you just tell me what happened? And also, why do you have yakisoba noodles on your head?" And so we get a flashback showing how things have come to this point for Shiori, where profits for the Balzac group have been down. But so Shiori has Fute, the acting CEO, helping out and saying, yeah, our sales are going down. And the main cause is our biggest competitor, the Chateau Honore Corporation. Our customers have been flocking to their stores. They've been putting out high-quality copies of our products at a cheaper price. We've been putting our backs into developing our goods, so I honestly don't know how they're doing it. And so we see that, like the Balzac group has had this goofy jack-o'-lantern thing that sprays out juice from its eyes and mouth. And the Chateau Honore has put out a thing that's like 60% of the price, which is the jolting juicy watermelon. Same thing, but with the watermelon instead of a pumpkin. The face and CEO of the group, says like, "Oh yes, we use methods. We use an originality not found in any other company," as they blatantly steal this product. And Shiori's like, "This was like Dad's top recommended product. What are we supposed to do?" And fortunately, Fute is there and says like, "It's okay. We're just gonna show them what we're made of. On to the planning meeting for our next product." And Shiori's like, "All right, as long as Aunt Fute is around, we can do this. She was my dad's trusted right hand. She grew the company to what it is now. Then, shortly after making that declaration, Fute suddenly collapses and is bedridden, has to be rushed to the hospital.
Want to give a special shout out to Molderman in our Discord, who pointed out if you look at the panel where Aunt Fate collapses, if you zoom in by her feet, you can see the little drone that Sensei uses. So, and though we all knew Sensei was probably behind this one as well, we do have a little visual proof to show that he was.
We gotta get that guy punched in the face. Like,
I assume it's going to be happening, yeah.
I can't remember the dumbbell guy's name, but it's the dumbbell guy who first showed up with Shiori, and he says, "I'll take care of the shareholder meeting. I will apologize to them with my deepest dumbbell bow." Thanks, dumbbell guy. Good to have you around. And he tells Shiori not to worry about it. Focus on your studies. But things are not going well. She walks out into the street, sees, a Balzac store. And there's it's this very this very sad moment because the pumpkin face that they're advertising is like, we've got bargains back to back, Balzac. And the Chateau Honore is like, oh, I'm going to shout over you directly across the street. Like, fuck you guys. Shiori wishes that Gero were there to help out, but she thinks, no, this is my family's problem. I shouldn't drag him into this. There's got to be something I can do. So she goes directly to Chateau Honori and meets with their CEO, Yuji Mino, who has a Yu-Gi-Oh hairstyle. Like, what is this? This cowlick bang thing that
I was
going to
say, this one enormous tuft of hair in the front, the rest of it shaved on the sides. It is going into a barber and being like, the douchiest haircut you have, por favor.
Like, it's not an undercut is the thing, because it's so he introduced himself. He's acting all smug, and he says, like, I hope you don't mind if I eat. He's got his whole lunch there, including yakisoba. And he says, like, yeah, I'm just really obsessed with staying healthy lately. He puts a bunch of like vitamins and other stuff in his yakisoba noodles and says, what do you want to see me for? And Shiori says, I'm here to ask you to please stop copying our products. And she says, my father, my aunt, my uncle, they all worked really hard to develop those products. And Mino goes, oh, that's nasty. And he immediately spits out the bit of yakisoba that he's eating. Says, take this to recycling. And then he turns to Shiori and says, as you said, all our products, and even the concept for our stores, are 100% stolen from your company. Well, okay. He just flat out bald-faced admits it and says, so what? The final judge is always the customer. The customers have spoken. They've shown that they value Chateau Honore's copies more than Balzac's originals. That's all there is to it. If that upsets you so much, all you have to do is make a product we can't copy and bring back your customers with that. If you can't do that, aren't you all just slacking off? Says the guy copying someone else's work. So he says, he laughs in her face and says that it doesn't matter how hard you worked because that has nothing to do with the customers. He snaps his fingers and his assistant dumps the yakisoba noodles directly on Shiori's head. And that's, of course, how it got in her hair. And he says, consider that a little gift from our company to yours. You may leave now. And apparently she just came directly from that meeting to sulk here. It's just she
never cleaned it off, nor did it ever like fall off at any point.
Yeah. So
are there still pills in it? Like, I'm trying to see
the multivitamins.
Yeah.
So she says to Gero that she didn't even have a response to that, and then she says, I'm a failure as the future CEO. She's all crying. And Gero looks solemn and vindictive as we end the chapter. I gotta give credit. The whole thing going on with Sensei, Hinasaki, all that. That's secondary now, Quinn. This guy's got to die. All right. I immediately hate this dude so much. He needs to die.
Not even get defeated. He needs to die. He needs to pay with his life.
He needs to die begging.
Oh, wow. All right. Fair enough.
I hate him so much. So, very effective chapter.
There you go. That's a good way to make a villain unlikable.
Yeah. Speaking of unlikable, new Exorcist. God, chapter 101, a trip. All right. Suzaku gave the whole ultimatum to Gakuro. I can't even what is this pathetic boy's name? Gakuro, that he's gonna die because she put an icicle thing in his heart. So Nua has called a meeting in a classroom, and she's all in school teacher mode and she says, but it's okay. The solution is easy. Defeat Suzaku, and Gakuro will escape death that way. So we're going to embark on one final round of training. What? So she dismisses Gakuro immediately and turns to all the girls and says, are you guys okay with how things are? Some woman who came out of nowhere is about to steal Gakuro. And one of the people who has a jolt go through them, I think, is Shitotsu, which is like, stop it! So Sua's like, yeah, that is bad. That's why we're training, right? And Nue says, I want you to think about this. Gakuro had resolved to confess his love and had to put that on hold. Yeah, I know. It's almost like you changed your mind at the last minute what you're going to do with this series. He can't say something irresponsible when he might die. I'd prefer it if his friends were the ones who supported him, so help him focus on what lies ahead. No doubt your efforts during this time will change who Gakuro ultimately confesses to, which feels very illegitimate. Come on. Anyway, overnight camping trip. We're going on a trip. What is happening? Training trip. Nue's a bus driver now.
I cannot begin to tell you how much I fucking despise this chapter and every single thing it does.
Everything. Ishu's there to go on the trip too. Shitotsu immediately gut punches her, which feels like it could have been great if it weren't this tiny little image in the middle of the page. That would have been so fucking funny if we got like an actual satisfying image of her getting punched in the gut. Anyway, Nue immediately reassures everyone that she invited Ishu to come on the trip too. Ishu puts a ring on Gakuro's finger, an I'm yours ring, a really expensive I'm yours ring that costs 55,000 yen, and it's on a 2-year waiting list, apparently. So everyone's like, you gotta take it off, Gakuro, and he's like, I can't, there's glue on it. What the fuck?
That's the only funny joke in the chapter is the idea that she put glue on the ring first. And that Gakuro, somebody who's supposed to be so powerful, is like, oh, there's super glue on this ring. I'll never get it off.
It's okay. Nue solves it, Quinn. She takes the other ring off of Ishu, and it vanishes and goes on the ground, and Sujita picks it up, and all the girls are fighting over the other ring, and Suo ends up with it, and she gives it back to Nue because she doesn't want her to take the next step of the relationship. Everyone gets on the bus, and it's just them on the bus. Magic school bus. Beep, beep. And then Nue thinks to herself, I gotta get Gakuro's romance to develop so he'll grow, but he's put the romance on hold. I know! So that's the real goal of the training camp, not getting stronger, but to make the teenagers kiss. And then so she turns around and says, at the end of the camp, I'm giving this ring to the most appropriate girl for Gakuro. So Ishu demands the ring, and Sujita, meanwhile, goes in the seat next to Gakuro. And Ishu is like, I know what to do, sits in Gakuro's lap instead. Everyone's fighting over who sits next to Gakuro. They all sit in the bench and in the back. Gakuro starts to go, whoa, he's getting strong from all these girls being horny for him. And Nue is like, if you all look to her right, we're here. And they've gone to a place with a giant demon in the background. It's swarming a building. What the fuck is going on? It's the Fujino State. And that's the demon that's on there and stuff. And so Nue says, remember, focus your energies. Gakuro transforms. His freaking spirits show up. And they're like, we got a new power. They swirl around each other.
I hate this.
They pop out a baby.
So much.
I'm making none of this up. This is all one chapter.
I didn't have the time to just be like, how has no one noticed the big demon? It's like 17 times bigger than anything else in the landscape. Couldn't you just look up and be like, hey, what's that big black fucking bulbous monster thing over there? It's taller than the mountains.
They pop out a new baby power, and it starts crying like an actual baby. So Gakuro starts to comfort it, and then Fujino, in a moment that honestly could have been cute if it had not taken place in this chapter, goes to play peekaboo with the baby, and it calms down, and it sprouts to tail because its power is growing. Honestly, if this had been the chapter, that could have actually been kind of cute. But no, there's like 5 chapters in this one chapter. And Nue says, yes, that ability is the key to winning, but only if its dad, Gakuro, and mom, one of the girls, care for it together. The baby's ability will be the key to defeating Suzaku, so work with that in mind. What's the focus, Nue? Are they working on getting stronger? Are they working on helping the baby? Are they working on jumping on Gakuro's lap and making him fall in love with them? What is the plan? You have said 5 different things are the plan.
You know, like...
10 out of 10, no notes.
The bummer of hate reading this series is that, like, you have to actually hate it. You know? Like, you have to actually read it and then hate it in that moment and be like, oh, right, this fucking sucks. This chapter blows on every level. Nothing has been advanced. Nothing was progressed by the fact that they went to that fucking festival. Gakuro has a death clock. Conveniently, it happens to be the same clock that existed before. No one was eliminated from the harem. All of the girls are still there, and in fact, one of the other girls is now added into this potential love septuagon or whatever the fuck this is. We're not advancing anything. Nobody's doing anything new. It's just another training arc, which is just another excuse for a bunch of, like, romance shenanigans. Like, when does this end? Like, this... Like, does everybody who read this go into it like, okay, so this series is like this weird shit post, and it doesn't ever end at any point. It just keeps progressively elongating itself. Like... I don't know.
When are we going to get to the fireworks festival? No, wait. We did get to the fireworks festival, we left it!
There were no fireworks there! They didn't do the fireworks! Although technically there were fireworks at their firework festival.
There were.
It was ice. I don't know when we get to the point where we have to guess where series were at the start of the year. I don't know at which point in this absurdly annoying process we were at. I know for a fucking... I'm like sure in my bones that we were not before all this shit started. Because that stuff went back to whenever fucking that Vice Admiral dude showed up. You know, like we've been stuck in that point of this series, I feel like, for like 40 chapters. Nothing has moved forward.
Oh, God. I think that... all right. Yeah, that's new Exorcist. My God. Akane-banashi. Story 161. She really could win. Tyson is watching from the sidelines while Akane does her performance. Her goal is not to make people laugh with this performance. It's to do a performance like an amusement park. So she goes into her cheap skate storyline, and she's very serious and tells the story of a man who had 5 employees, decided he doesn't need 5 employees. He can cut it down to 2. This is still fine. Doesn't need employees at all. Just goes down to him and his wife. Then he realized he doesn't need her. Divorced her. Now it's just him, scraping out a living on his own. And then he thought, do I really need myself either? And she tells the story of him hanging himself. And everyone's like, fuck. Because she mimes out the noose and everything. And I was like, I thought this was supposed to be a funny story. And Kashi was like, holy shit, did she turn this into a ghost story? What the hell? But Then she launches into a completely different little tale, which is still part of the same Rakugo story because it's an anthology story. So she tells this story of a father tripping on a rock, falling into the water, and the kid that she mimes out, it suddenly turns into like Doraemon, the expressions. It's so over the top goofy and
Yes.
cartoonish, the expressions she's making. And Kashio's like, wait, what the hell? She just went from ghost story to this? But then she goes from that straight into another story, and it's like all about the food being prepared and how detailed she can make it out and all the imagery she evokes. And she's just changing tones entirely, crossing over genres rapidly. And so we get Akane's explanation of what she's trying to do, assert her own will over the audience. So she concluded, what do I have? What can I assert? I should be examining myself, my roots. The power of art, where the presence of nothing means the presence of everything. So she internally apologized to her audience that she can't make them laugh, but make sure you can enjoy every other emotion instead. And Zenmai, I think is his name, the braided guy, concludes like, it's a collection of funny vignettes normally about people who are cheap. But even for an anthology, this is a wild display of breadth that she is making. And this is kind of portrayed as a series of doors behind Akane opening up to her different performances. And yeah, no one can laugh at this because it's overwhelming. It's crazy, yes. All the range that she's showing. Tyson flashes back to when Akane let him in. This was her plan. Something overflowing with all kinds of fun, like a Rakugo Hanayashiki. And we get this visual of her presenting this big, like, carnival of all these different things that she can take people through. And Kashio's like, well, yeah, okay, it's kind of like the kaleidoscope approach, a distillation of that. And Tyson's like, yeah, no one laughed. She overwhelmed the audience instead. I feel like she really could win without making anyone laugh. We cut to backstage to where Hikaru meets up with Karashi. And Karashi's like, yeah, you went and watched From the Wings again, didn't you? Because he knows, like, yeah, you got it bad for her. Hikaru asked Karashi what he thought. He's like, you were listening to her too. What did you think? And there's an awkward silence between them. And Karashi says, to be honest. And we see a poster being put up for the finalists of the competition. 6 finalists. Karashi, Hikaru, Saryu Kenpute, Uchiwa Hakurate, Akane, and Zenmai. Order is based on scoring results. So Akane not only ranked below Karashi and Hikaru, the only person in the finalists she beat was Zenmai.
I do love the touch that she still beat Zenmai.
Yeah.
Even in a moment where she is supposed to feel defeated, she did still do better than Zenmai.
And Karashi says, I was disappointed. She wasn't even worth my while. And Akane, obviously enough, looks stunned by this result when we check in with her at the end of the chapter. So I was glad with the structure of this chapter because honestly, when I saw like what this technique and approach was with Akane, I was like, oh, okay.
That I was like, this doesn't sound enjoyable. I was like, yeah. I don't know if I would enjoy this like weird, insane whiplash of moods like that.
Yeah, it's impressive to pull off, but not being able to really appreciate any of the genres that you can be taken through. So I'm very glad that we not only got this result of like, this isn't going to work. It's impressive, but it's not going to work. Not only that we got that result, but we got it right away. I'm happy with that. That we just immediately dropped that and it's like, she's got to change it up again. She still hasn't found the solution to this. So good stuff.
I'm kind of bummed because the first one, where she's doing it, and it ends with them hanging himself. I was like, oh, this reminds me a lot of Shigemo's God of the Dead performance. Like, there's a lot of like gravity and intensity to it, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that's her direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, but instead, then she's like, all right, now it's a comedy, now it's a cooking show, now it's this and that. I'll be very curious to see where she goes from that. I wonder if the answer is just like, you could jump to different genre, but you can't. You gotta like have a plan for which one you go to or something like that. I assume there's got to be some root in what her technique is in this, and I'll be curious to see what it is. But hey, we're going into it just the same way, and should be fun.
Yeah, it's nice to see Akane as the underdog, really and truly. And now that we've seen that she's not immediately found the solution, good stuff. Let's finish things off with One Piece, Quinn.
One Piece, chapter 1151. I get the idea. Still cover page story going on. Yamato defeats, what was it? Urashima's big brother, Yokozuna Sukune, just throws him out of the ring. Very, very strong, that boy. Chapter itself, Dory and Bragi have been turned into horrible demon monsters, and one of the giants tries to appeal to their sense of decency, justice, humanity, whatever. Be like, why are you doing this? Chief Ja Rule is our oldest warrior. Dory and Bragi just talk about how he's grown old and feeble. They need to kill him and take over. And this one giant steps between them, notes they're trapped between them, and we get the shot of the reverse sideboard, and they get flipped and turned into a monster. They are now another one of the black pieces that are causing chaos as everyone is just trying to retreat. Now this is becoming untenable. This is too much chaos. We see that Ripley is running to try to find Colin now that she's heard this rumor about Mr. Ya falling off the side of the island. And the children hear that giant pirates have turned into demons and dream up giant pirate demons. And those are coming back to life along with the other sleep tids. Sate Killingham reveals his full form as the eater of the Kirin devil fruit. And
no, he's hot.
Oh no, he's hot. And he is, bragging about how awesome this is, and rampage to your heart's desire, my sleep tids, and remember, Elbeth, you created these monsters yourself. Jinbei kind of just sits there and he's like, things look bad. And I'm like, dog, you better fucking... And, like, whenever that fucking arrow thing gets undone, you better, like, fucking karate palm, like, one of these motherfuckers into orbit. Because right now, you're the most annoying motherfucker on this island.
Oh, that's pretty bad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, no shit, dude. But Usopp is screaming out to Dory and Bragi, saying, what are you doing to your homeland? Wake up. Where is your sense of pride? And Nick, I don't want to throw theories out there too much. But Molderman or Discord had a great theory that Usopp will be the key to all this. Because this is a game of reverse eye. Because there's a game of reverse eye going on. We have two black pieces established, Dory and Bragi.
It's true.
The white pieces could be Luffy and Bonnie, who we know can also achieve a Nika form. And what if it's Usopp directing them to play reverse side to flip everyone back over?
Interesting.
Because I love the idea of God Usopp defeating God at a game.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to get too hyped about it, but I will pop so fucking hard for when Usopp does his big thing this arc.
I absolutely do think that it would only be appropriate if Usopp in some way became a hero to the Giants.
Oh, yeah.
After his big dream being to get to be there.
He is going to do something here. I don't know when it is, but it is definitely going to happen. It seems like things are going really, really bad. Summers is talking like, all right, well, how far shall we go? And Emu is just like, oh, just continue until it breaks. The heart of Elbaf, the country would have been subjugated years ago if not for Harold's miserable failure. cut over to Mr. Ya, who is falling from the sky, and Chopper, who is falling after him, saying, I didn't think this through. I really didn't think this through. Just starts running on the air to get ahead of Scopper, and turns at the guard point. We don't see that shot, but we hear him call it out to save him. And Luffy immediately is like, hey, Chopper fell down. How did I know that was Chopper? So Luffy slowly becoming slightly aware of the powerful hockey he controls. So they're like, hey, they just fell all the way from the sun world above. That seems bad. We got to go search for them, essentially. And while this is happening, Loki gets a phone call from his friend Shaggy, who says, hey, Loki, what's going on?
Hey, man.
And here, hey, dude. Loki freaks out and is like, Shaggy, I'm busy. I'll call you back later. And Shaggy says, don't worry, it won't take long. As a matter of fact, it's just the one thing. I don't think I'm going to be able to call you for a while. But, at first I found it frightening. But the more you and I talked, the more our conversations became a source of solace to me. So I wanted to thank you and express my gratitude. And Loki's like, wait, don't tell me, are you in danger again? And they're like, don't worry, I'm fine. Asks, hey, where are you? And they say, hey, just thanks for everything. And clicks, hangs up. There's a very cute scene of Ermagerd saying, "Aw," she's like kind of like happy because she's like, "I'm really glad to know that you had a friend while you've been down here."
Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, and he's like, "Don't you tell anybody." They are patching up Scooper at this point, Scopper, and Luffy's just like, "Wow, everybody loves this guy." Wait, this old guy was on part of the Pirate Cruise King. I don't know who says this, but somebody says, yeah, he and Dark King Raleigh were known as the wings of the King of the Pirates. And I assume this guy was the third strongest on the crew. And Scopper, not to be undone, like kind of like coffee up, it's like second strongest. So in case you were curious, the Sanji Zoro rivalry did exist in this this older version as well. But Chopper, now having gotten to Luffy, is trying to inform him about how bad things are. The children are being taken hostage. There's nothing anybody could do. There are giant monsters rampaging about. And on cue, this horrible wave of hockey strikes. And everybody knows what to do at this point. Like, Haryuden's like, everybody get on the life raft. We're going back. Elbat's in danger. Luffy's like, save your breath. I get it. We're going up there. And even Loki says, whose preposterous hockey is that? Looks like you're going to need me after all.
Yeah. All right. Heroes are coming, and really look forward to seeing Luffy and company get back into this awful situation that's going on.
Yes.
Good stuff.
All right, Nick. We have to wrap up every week a Manga recap by talking about our favorites and MVP. Did you have any favorites or MVPs this week?
There's some good stuff this week, so it's tough. I think that I am going to go. I'm going to go with Ichi the Witch for my chapter of the week, and I'm going to go with oh gosh, hang on.
Hemlock?
Yeah. From Spy Family.
That's mine as well. Ichi the Witch and Hemlock. Pretty much a slam dunk 1-for-1. But I think there were a lot of series that could have been chapter of the week. There were some pretty good ones this week.
Yeah, DanDaDan was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Box was nice. Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi was fun. And Marriagetoxin was really good too.
Yes.
So yeah, a lot of good stuff.
The audience, by the way, picks Spy Family as their chapter of the week and your one character of the week.
Nice. All right, that's going to do it, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Weekly Manga Recap. We'll be back with more next week, next Wednesday, starting around 7:30 Eastern Time. We record right here on twitch.tv/RoloT if you want to listen to it live. We have social media, RoloT, Nick F. Time, Weekly Manga Recap on BlueSky, and also WMR Vote, which is run by Ninja Extra. If you want to take part in the community vote for favorite chapter, MVP, and all the other stuff for year-end voting. Ninja X3 also runs the Google page, which keeps track of all of our questions and answers for future episodes, recommendations for stuff that we're going to take, and tracks all of the MVP and favorite series voting as well on there. We have a Discord server, which is linked wherever this gets posted, which is weeklymangarecap.podbean.com for the audio version. Also goes on iTunes and Spotify podcast feeds to type of follows for that. And also on youtube.com/weeklymangarecap for the video version of the show, which has an opening sequence by Milo Jack Stillitz and Winston Cheddar, and occasionally title cards by Steve Mann, whose work you can check out by searching for Steve Mann Art. And we have a Patreon, patreon.com/weeklymangarecap, if you want even more Weekly Manga Recap content, including bonus episodes for $5 backers, if you want to help support the show financially. And that should be everything.
There we go. All right. So thank you, everybody, for listening all the way to the end. Not everybody does that. And because you are the loyal listeners who stay all the way to the end, here's another clue to where the treasure is. I'm going to let you know it is not in Djibouti. Okay? So get out of Djibouti. It's not there. I'm not going to say it's map. I'm not going to say it's not close to Djibouti, but it is not in Djibouti. So, process of elimination, you will, if you listen to enough episodes, know where the treasure is.
Eventually, you'll mark off every city in the world, and then you'll know.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Good luck in your treasure hunt.